to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Would you join me in a moment of silence, please? Thank you very much for being at tonight's meeting. Our first item is related to citizen concerns. If there are any concerned citizens who would like to approach the board, please state your name and address and the nature of your concern at this time. Sir?
My name is Ernie Colt,
Hi, Ernie.
4526 Perry Way, Sioux City, Iowa. I'm here today representing the North Central States Regional Council of Carpenters, the Northwest Iowa Building Trades, and most of all, the citizens of Woodbury County. We are seeking approval and use of the General Contractor Quality Assurance language and questionnaire, which will ensure that taxpayers' monies are going to legitimate, responsible contractors. This is also has language in there to not only protect the citizens' taxpayers' money, but the board supervisors as well. So I don't know if all of you have gotten a copy of this. I've got some extra copies to hand out.
We'll take those copies and distribute them, sir. We've also asked for, just for your information, to have our legal counsel as well as our building services director review these and come back with a response on what language we currently have in county policy that would cover some of these areas, and then what we don't have. And I would anticipate giving a more thorough response than we'll receive under citizen concerns.
Okay.
But very much appreciate this. We'll make sure that the board has this and can review it. And then if you have your contact information, which we should have down as your address, is that the best way to contact you back?
Yes.
Okay.
I can leave my email.
Sure, we gladly take that.
I've got one more copy.
Yep.
I'll give you another
Okay.
copy.
So, Mr. Chairman, this will be an agenda item then? This will come back as an agenda item?
Potentially. I think what we'll do initially is review and see what sort of language is already within county policy, areas of concern, and then if there's impetus on behalf of any supervisor to cover any of those gaps for which anyone feels that there's necessary policy language, then I would assume that that would come back, that anyone could have. And I'll share not only the results from that collective group, including our building services director, legal counsel, and anyone else within our policy group.
We've got two different headings here.
Right. One
we-
is the actual language and one is the questionnaire.
So you have a general contractor one and a large bid. Does everyone have
Yeah, this-
both of those copies?
Questionnaire.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, and I thank you very much for bringing forward the issue, and should anticipate a timely response.
Good, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I actually have,
Address?
yeah, I'd give it to her right
Okay.
there. I actually looked at this and I think it has some merit because we hire a general contractor and he picks all of the subs. So we really don't know what we're getting. And I think we need to look at it.
And
That's
we
why
also,
it should come back as an agenda item, whether we vote it up or down. I think it needs to be just a transparent item that everyone knows what action we're going to take on it. So.
sure. And I think this is something too that once we delineate what's already covered within some policies, that we can help to fill that gap. So appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And if you'll speak with Karen and leave your contact information, I appreciate it. Any other citizen concerns before we move on? Seeing none, we will move to item 4, which is approval of the agenda dated November 1st, 2016.
Move it.
All second, is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. and the motion carries 5-0. Item 5 is approval of the minutes of the October 25th, 2016 meeting.
Move it.
All second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0. Item 6 is discussion and approval of the claims. I'll move them.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the claims? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no, and the claims are approved on a vote of 5-0. We have now come to 435 under Board Administration, Public Bidder, Satterwhite. Item 7A is a public hearing and sale of property parcel number 016035. That's also known as 318 West First Street. And so at this time, we're now in a public hearing on the sale of this particular property. Is there anyone who would like to speak for or against the sale of this property?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
And so just for your information, sir, this is just whether or not the property should be sold or not. We have a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. And the vote to close the public hearing on this property carries 5-0. Now, would anyone like to bid on the sale of this particular property, also known as 318 West First Street? If so, please come forward, state your name, your address, and the amount of your bid. And just for the public's good, the minimum bid is $169. Sir?
Yeah, my name is Ivan Espinosa. My
Yes.
address is 310 12th Avenue, Southwest Limars, Iowa.
And your
So-
bid, sir?
My bid is 170.
169?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else like to bid on the sale of this property?
Mr. Chairman, hearing no one, I move the property be sold to Mr. Espinoza.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. And the property is sold to you, sir, on a vote of 5-0. Ms. Satterwhite, whom you have spoken with previously, will get you taken care of. Thank you very much for being here. Item 7B is a public hearing on the sale of property parcel number 219780, also known as 117 South Colon Street. Is there anyone who would like to speak for or against the sale of this property? Hearing none, I move that the
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0. We are now putting up for sale or bid this particular property. Is there anyone who would like to bid on this property? Yes, ma'am. If you come forward, if you'd state your name and address and how much you'd like to wager.
Gina McBride,
Yes, ma'am.
2915 West Highland Avenue, Sioux City, 51103. And 113, isn't that the minimum?
That is the minimum bid, ma'am. Is there anyone else who would like to bid on the sale of this property?
Hearing none, I move we sell the property to Gina McBride for $113.
I'll second that. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no, and the motion carries on a vote of 5-0. Item 7C is a public hearing on the sale of property parcel 481980, also known as 3206 Westcott Street. Is there anyone who would like to speak for or against the sale of this property? Hearing none, I move that this hearing be closed. And just for the good of all of you who are waiting, there's 4 of these, and we're on the 3rd one. So if you're worried about the dozens of them, we're on the 3rd one.
Second.
There's a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0. Now, would anyone like to bid on the sale of the property known as 3206 Westcott Street?
Come forward.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I didn't notice you up first. If you'd come forward to the podium, state your name, address, and minimum bid.
My name is John Roach. My address is 603 38th Street, Sioux City.
Yes, sir. What would you like to bid? The minimum is $240.
That would be my bid.
Yes, sir. Is there anyone who would, otherwise like to bid on the sale of this property?
Mr. Chairman, hearing no one, I move the property be sold to Mr. Roach.
I'll second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no, and it's sold to you, sir. Ms. Satterwhite will get you taken care of now. I assume that there may be interest in this next parcel. Is that right? Maybe similar interest in this next parcel. Therefore, we are now in a public hearing on the sale of the property parcel number 481-995, also known as 3208 Westcott Street. Is there anyone who would like to speak for or against the sale of this property? Hearing none, I move that the hearing be closed.
Second.
And there's a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0. Sir, would you like to bid on this property as well? And I assume that you're going to give the minimum bid of $151, is that correct? Given that we know your name, your address, is there anyone else who would like to bid otherwise?
Hearing none, I move we sell this property to Mr. Roach.
Second, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no, and the property is sold to you, sir, on a vote of 5-0. Thank you very much for being here. And for everyone in the room, thank you for your patience as we dispensed with some of that county business. We are now to Board Administration, item 8, under Karen James. And 8A is the approval of a lifting of a tax suspension for individual with the initials J.K.
Move it.
Second.
There's a motion and a second discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0. 8B is an approval of a lifting of a tax suspension for an individual with the initials E.S.
Move it.
I'll second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0. Now, it's the time that we have been waiting for. Item 9A is a presentation of a resolution thanking and commending Alan Shinkunas for years of service with Woodbury County. Sir, if you'd please come forward to the podium. That's who I was pointing at. Read this to you. And it says, whereas Alan Shinkunas has capably served Woodbury County as an employee of the Woodbury County Sheriff's Office for 35 years, from March 31st, 1981 to November 30th, 2016. And whereas the service given by Alan Shinkunas as a Woodbury County employee has been characterized by his dedication to the best interests of the citizens of Woodbury County, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Woodbury County, Iowa, that the undersigned members of this board thank and commend you for your many years of service and your dedication. If you all join me in a warm round of applause. You got a fan? I think they're going to get a picture over there first. So. Yeah, thank you very much.
Hasn't changed a bit.
Thank you very much.
There should have been numbers underneath that name.
That was last year's picture, too. Was that picture just taken last year, or?
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Item 9B is the presentation of a resolution thanking and commending Shirley Michaud for years of service with Woodbury County. It says, whereas Shirley Michaud has capably served Woodbury County as an employee of the Woodbury County Sheriff's Office for 26 years.
Yeah, a long time.
From February 23rd, 1990 to October 31st, 2016, and whereas the service given by Shirley Machado as a Woodbury County employee has been characterized by her dedication to the best interests of the citizens of Woodbury County. And now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Woodbury County that the undersigned members of this board thank and commend you for your many years of service.
Thank
So would you please join me in a round of applause for Shirley?
And we have pictures. And we have pictures.
Congratulations. Thank you. Item 9C is the presentation of a resolution thanking and commending Cheryl Scaff for years of service with Woodbury County. Cheryl, this says, whereas Cheryl Scaff has capably served Woodbury County as an employee of the Woodbury County Sheriff's Office for 21 years. From August 14th, 1995 to December 30th, 2016. And whereas the service given by Cheryl Scaff as a Woodbury County employee has been characterized by her dedication to the best interests of the citizens of Woodbury County, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Supervisors of Woodbury County, Iowa, that the undersigned members of this board thank and commend you for your many years of service and your dedication. Would you please join me in a round of applause? Congratulations. All right. We'll remember it. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
I believe I encountered these two folks very early in my supervisory role as I was stuck in a snowdrift, and they gave me a ride to the courthouse.
Sheriff, would you
Yeah,
please
be
say a few
brief.
remarks?
I told these distinguished new retirees how much we appreciate it, but 82 years of total service to Woodbury County and 82 years of serving in the jail. That's a tough environment, and it's difficult, and what I'm more proud of is that they really gave themselves. I hope that every one of them, you get 35 years IPERS checks coming to you, and 21 or more. I want you to stay with him. The same amount, because honestly, and you have all come up and seen how difficult a job that is. And when Al started 35 years ago over in the jail, over at the old PD, we might have had 60 some, and 35, and maybe booked on Sundays, hardly any, Mondays none, to the point now where we're booking sometimes 25 midweek. So they've stayed up with it, and they're great employees. Losing 82 years of service is not an easy thing, but fortunately they were good mentors for our new ones, and you guys have allowed us to backfill, and that means a lot because they can see how these guys do it. So when we know, like, Sherry's leaving, we've been allowed to hire until she's done at the end of the year. That means a lot because they get to see some good tenure there. So I appreciate you doing that, but these people are the ones that really need the applause. They had to put up with me for 4 years. I'm thinking they're all leaving. Kind of getting a complex.
Well, and just so you know just how valuable you are, the sheriff has assured us that you could only be replaced by 9 people. So really something else. So.
Where are the pictures for Sherry?
Cheryl? I don't believe you've been here 21 years because that means you started when you were a baby. Either that or you've been lying to me all along. What was that?
Well, thank you again very much for your service. We will now move on to item 10, which is Rural Economic Development Director David Gleiser. And this is a public hearing and second reading of the Woodbury County Industrial and Owner-Operated Cattle Facility Property Improvement Tax Exemption Ordinance. That's quite a mouthful. Do you want to break that down for anyone who is here and would like brief introductory remarks on this item?
Brief.
This ordinance is going to provide a partial 5-year tax exemption for qualifying industrial facilities and owner-operated cattle facilities in unincorporated Woodbury County.
All right, so we are now going to hold the required public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to speak for or against this particular item? I see and hear no one, so I would move that the hearing be closed.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0. I'd now approve the second reading of the ordinance.
I'll move it.
I'll second, so there's a motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0. I'd now move to set the public hearing for the third reading of the Woodbury County Industrial and Owner-Operated Cattle Facility Property Improvement Tax Exemption Ordinance on Tuesday, November 22nd, 2016 at 4:45 p.m.
Second.
November 22nd.
Is that November 22nd is the...
I just thought it was quite a ways off. It's fine with me.
Okay.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Item 11, Human Resources Director Ed Gilliland. This is approval for the request to increase the medical expense reimbursement account, which is part of our flexible spending account, to $2,600 for 2017 and to follow future indexed increases. Ed?
What's happened is a few years ago when the ACA or PPACA or Obamacare came out, one of the things that they did to increase revenue was they lowered the amount that you could elect for flexible spending for medical reimbursement, and they lowered it from $5,000 to $2,500. So to comply with the law, the Woodbury County plan was changed to have a maximum limit for medical reimbursement on a tax-free basis to $2,500. Part of the provision of the law also was to begin to index that upward with growth in the consumer price index, and so this is the first year that is in effect. I mean, by the first year I mean 2017. So that's moving up to $2,600 for 2017, and it will move up off and on from there. So I would suggest that we allow people to elect that larger amount of $2,600. Should save the county money, actually.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0. Thanks, Ed. Appreciate it. We are now to secondary roads and our county engineer, Mark Nara, and item 12A is consideration of approval of a project agreement amendment with the Hungry Canyons Alliance for project agreement 11-1 on the Dutch Creek tributary. Mark?
This is a project extension to allow us extra time to get this project instructed. Recommend approval of the agreement.
Move it.
Well, second, is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0. 12B is consideration of approval of a project agreement amendment with the McClure Engineering Consultants for continuation of interchange justification report work. Mark?
As the board might recall, when we approved the contract with McClure Engineering, we approved parts A, B, C, and E. Part D of the contract was the intention to do the environmental survey work tied in with the interchange location. As we reported last week, we have narrowed down the study area from about 1,260 acres down to about 860 acres. Our consultant is in the process of renegotiating the contract with HDR to do that portion of the environmental study. but it's essential that we get going with at least the field work. And that's what this contract addresses, is $50,000 to allow HDR personnel to begin to do the field work before the snow flies and all the evidence on the ground is covered.
Move it. It does need to happen really quick.
We're already getting back permission slips from the property
Landowners.
owners, so I've got 7 of the 13 back already, so.
Have you had much in the way of inquiry or discussion, comments, anything like that?
Nothing from any of them, but they've all sent back signed forms.
Okay, well, that's good.
And I
And
haven't
just-
had any questions from the other 24 area property owners either at this point in time, but I expect they'll come.
Sure. So the up to an amount of $50,000, was that originally what
That's
we were
with-
looking at?
That's within the additional $231,000 that we have not yet approved for them to do.
Okay.
So
That's still on the drawing board?
that's still being negotiated, the work inside that they're doing with it. But this at least allows them the labor to come out and do the in-depth field surveys, the borehole tests for archaeological issues, the survey for any endangered species that might be present in that 800 some odd acres.
And what's the accountability mechanism within it? Just curious, on the up to $50,000, what prevents them from saying, okay, well, you said up to, so I'm going to write the 50,000? Is there anything that they show?
They turn
Typically?
in an invoice for the
Okay.
time spent and what work category it's in. That's all in the billing that gets submitted through Dennis. It gets sent to me to take a look at, and then I check it over before making a recommendation for payment.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no. And the motion carries 5-0. Item C is consideration of a certificate of completion of contract work for the Secondary Roads Department. And you'll notice all 3 of these, I asked that we notify these on the agenda accordingly in parentheses. Do you want to speak about all 3 of these in total, Mark? And then-
Sure.
Okay.
These 3 projects all have to do with our gravel supply to county roads. 2 of them, which are GH 2016 and GH 2016-2, are both where we had gravel hauled directly to the gravel roads by the semi-load. These 2 projects were let separately. The fall project, we let 40 miles of gravel resurfacing. The spring project, we let 20 miles. We had a very good price, so we extended that to do an additional 6 miles and pretty well cleaned up the gravel needs for a while in Lakeport Township. So both of those were let as separate contracts, one in September and the second one, I think it was in June of 2016, and that work is now complete. The final one is G 2016 stockpile, and that is our annual contract to supply the various stockpiles we have scattered around the county.
Should these be individual motions?
I think we should do an individual motion on each one.
I would, yes.
But I think we can dispense with any further unless there's other questions or discussion on these 3 items.
I would move GH 216 Road Hall.
I'll second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0.
I would move GH 216 Road Hall 2.
I'll second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0.
Move on G 2016.
I'll second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0. Thank you very much, Mark. I'll sign all of those.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now, at this time, we're going to go ahead and recess the Board of Supervisors meeting, and we will convene the Orton Slough Drainage District Trustees meeting. And item 13 is approval of the minutes of the October 25th, 2016 meeting.
Move it.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no, and the motion carries 5-0. We'll now adjourn the Orton Slough Drainage District Trustees meeting, and we'll continue the Board of Supervisors meeting. And
I have one comment for Mark. A citizen out in the Danbury area concerned about the shoulders. These trucks are just beating the crap out of our shoulders. They're sloughing them off. It's farm season.
Where is that?
Just around Danbury. And I didn't get a specific location, but their comment was, why don't we pave them? I said, whoa, I don't know if that'll work. But they do. That heavy equipment is taking a toll. I mean, if you pass a combine, he's on the shoulder. So I don't know what we do about it. That equipment is huge.
I guess I should come back to my. That, and we're dealing with a fairly old road system. I know both roads coming out of Danbury, both L37 to the north and D54, have 3 foot or less on the shoulders. Those roads were graded in the 1950s, and at that point in time, nobody was running equipment anywhere near as large as what we have on now. I know that is one of the things that was expressed as a concern as we've talked about doing County Road D38 from Bronson over to the Mobile Blacktop. Is first question out of everybody's mouth is, are you going to widen the shoulders while you're out there? But that would roughly double the cost of an already $1.6 million project.
Yeah.
So it's a difficult thing for us to address at this point in time, building out those roads. But I will have the guys check on, was it along the pavements, Mark?
It was along pavements, yeah.
Okay. I will get Doug down there to see if he can address some of those issues.
thank you very much, Mark.
There's a lot of dirt being moved down on Port Neal Road. Is that for the Mid-American project?
Some of it is for the Mid-American project. There's dirt coming from 2 borrow areas for the Mid-American project. One is down by the houses south of Port Neal Circle. The other one is farther north, and that one's been inactive. They used that for the initial soil buffer, and then I think it's more of a clay that's in the farther south one that's going to Mid-American. Oh, okay. There was some soil also going to the interchange project there at Salix, but I believe that dirt work is finished now.
That
So
looks
if
pretty good.
If there's more going somewhere else, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay.
That would be the tight diamond that they've talked about at our stakeholders meetings. That configuration changed there on that interchange, but looks good so far.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mark. Item 14 is Chairman's Report. So speaking of Mid-American, I went to about a 4-hour workshop called Empower You that Mid-American's leadership puts on. And I just thought I'd share 3 or 4 quick things. One is natural gas. They're looking at the fact that there are more basin reservoirs available, particularly in Appalachia. So there's more supply than they once thought, which is good. But some of the technologies, fracking and horizontal drilling and shale has been somewhat protracted. So who cares, or what does this mean for us? The bottom line is they feel like prices on a per unit cost are going to increase during this next year because they don't have the ability to get to those supplies. And we went through a very mild winter last year. And so while per therm costs might have dipped, I say all of that because we might be tempted when we're looking at the budget to see, well, we only used this on natural gas last year. Let's go ahead and lower. Well, we need to look more at a 5-year average and look longer term. The other thing that I thought was interesting, the environmental impact, emissions are at the lowest rate in the last 25 years in the United States, CO2 emissions. And so I think that's good news as far as the environmental impact. There's a huge shift from coal, obviously, to wind. So Mid-American is now powering about 50%, almost 50% of all of their energy usage through wind. At one time, they were 70% through coal. Their goal is by 2020 to be at 85%. And they just invested $3.6 billion. And, of course, got that in production tax credits. So that's quite a shift, and as their leaders, and Iowa continues to be leaders in the nation. They do site certification, and so David Gleiser was there as well, and we talked a little bit about how they can help to certify sites and being shovel-ready and having utilities and helping. So I've asked that he look as site certification becomes a topic and working with some of their leaders, and they're increasingly trying to be proactive as far as cybersecurity and giving outage alerts and really having a customer service focus. So just wanted to let you know that, see if there's any questions or thoughts there. Related to that, energy cap is fully implemented, and they're wanting us to sign off on it. I'm going to meet with Kenny and Renee for about 2 hours next week to work through and see if there's any issues there, run some reports so that they can start notifying, let's say, our county engineer, here's how buildings are doing in comparison to past baseline, and other department heads and buildings by the meter. So we'll be looking to work that and come back with a report. Met with Shane Walters over at the Triview building, and I'll have Karen make copies. This is essentially what they're thinking as far as a configuration. They want to shed about 2/3 of the cubicles there and build a conference room. Kenny Schmitz was with me, and any modifications to the building we're wanting to do hand in hand with him. I mentioned sometimes people put up walls and forget the HVAC and different things, and so as we go forward, this is something the region would pay for. But we spoke about a good cooperative give and take on this, and it seems like it's something that's doable. You also talked about bringing in other partners into that building, something that's been supported by our liaisons and by the good working relationship. So any questions or thoughts there? Went to Western Iowa Tech's 50th anniversary. They held a dinner, and I have a spot that I'd like to show. Is that good? Okay. They unveiled this spot, and this will be running, and I just thought that this was a great look. They'd invited different leaders for a dinner put on by their culinary arts students, and so they ran this spot, and while Andy's pulling that up.
For 50 years, we've been educating the driving force of Siouxland. Growing Siouxland by providing future business leaders, healers, designers, and educators with the intellectual and technological skills needed to compete worldwide. We've trained Siouxland's fabricators, growers, teachers, and builders to be trusted with creating and maintaining the ever-changing future of Siouxland. We've taught students centuries of knowledge right alongside the latest in cutting-edge technology. We are Western Iowa Tech Community College. And this year, our faculty, our students, and Siouxland celebrate 50 years of expanding knowledge, growing ideas, and forming the next generation of thinkers, doers, and problem solvers. No matter where you choose to go in life, you can count on Western Iowa Tech Community College to help you get there. Your future is waiting. Get going at Western Iowa Tech Community College.
I thought that was pretty cool, and I thought it was cool that played on the first try, too. So thank you very much, Andy. So congratulations to them.
What's he trying to say?
I've never had that kind of luck.
Thanks for not hitting the pause on that. No, I'm just kidding. Item E is the Siouxland Initiative luncheon and report. I think you have the annual meeting report. That was David Gleiser copied. I thought it was a great time to celebrate their contributions and to hear from one of Sioux City's own, who started off at Gateway and did some great things, Gene McNaughton, and he spoke on patterns of anticipation, looking at Blockbuster versus Netflix and who won that battle, and looking ahead 5, 10, 15 years to changing markets and how to meet the needs, and to having great leaders invest in themselves and their teams through training. So I thought that was a very good thing. And then F is November 8th, meeting to finalize materials for the new supervisor department head and an invitation to the November 14th department head meeting. I put together a letter that kind of walked through some things that Karen, Heather, and I came up with that would walk through a new department head. or supervisor, kind of a welcome letter and then some checklists of materials, and that'll be something that can be used. And then finally, item G is Veterans Day, November 11th. Hy-Vee has a free breakfast from 6 to 10:30. Go to the one on Hamilton, if you will. And my friend Al Metz, they have a competition. They want to feed over 900 veterans, which is a great thing. And then we have our own celebration here at 11 a.m. And then I'm anticipating that there may be a luncheon that someone puts on at the convention center. So details to follow on that special day. Any questions, thoughts, discussion on any of that? So then we come to item 15, which is reports on committee meetings.
I got a couple. Went to the Citizens Advisory Board, Cherokee Mental Health Center. They're running at capacity. We're also getting some funds out of a fund out of Des Moines to fix state buildings, so that's a big help. They are pretty much full, and that just keeps right on moving along. They have the CUSO unit is full. They have 20 in prison ready to come next year, and they have 20 more the year after. And they're about $400,000 behind in their budget for the year. So it's a tough deal. Went to the program committee this morning, and they look at all the treatment programs that the county is involved in. Jail population running 216 this morning, according to the major. Family treatment court, none of those folks are in jail. I think they have about 25 people keeping them out of jail as family members. Project Compass is running 22 plus about 19 that are pending. Drug court, they had 160 people go through last year. Veterans court, they had their first graduate, and they're at about 7 at this point, so it's growing nicely. The Iowa Workforce Development folks are working in the jail, or will be very soon. Their referrals are increasing. They're working with veterans, trying to get them employable. So, good meeting.
Great. Other reports on committee meetings? So then with that, we come to our second to last item, and that is citizen concerns. Any concerned citizens who would like to approach the board? Hearing none at this time. Any board concerns and comments? Hearing none, I believe I'm within 45 minutes, Mr. Clausen, and I move that we adjourn.
That's not too bad.
Rack it up on the tally.